this information. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. Before I share my screen, I am putting a link on the chat. And this link see if everybody is able to access the link. So the link I have sent is to the Google Drive that we are going to use throughout this session. Please access the link. If you can access the link, I will then give instructions much later on how to download the information that is in there. But all the data sets that are inside the drive are going to be used in the session today. All right, so I have placed a link on the chat. Please access the Google Drive. And also I have placed a link to the pre-survey for this particular session. Please click on the survey, link and access the pre-survey. It is important that we are all able to fill in the pre-survey. Please fill in the pre-survey. I'm now sharing my screen. And let me know, David, if you can see my screen now.
It has not yet come, but it's loading.
Okay.
Yes, it has come. Maybe you just put on presentation mode.
All right. Okay, so let me go to the presentation mode. And please kindly help me to see if they are accessing the link that I have put in the chat, both to the Google Drive and to the pre-survey.
Okay, that's okay. We're just going to be resharing because people joining.
Okay. So I am in the presentation mode now. Kindly confirm.
Yes, please. Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Once again, you are welcome. This is the second week of a series of trainings that we are conducting in data management, data science, and bioinformatics. So this particular week, we are going to focus on data management for research and institutional decision making. Throughout the week, we are going to look at different aspects that will help us to concretize our knowledge in data management so we can be able to make the best decisions in our different institutions. So what are we going to look at during the week? So these are the topics that we are going to cover throughout the week. One, we are going to look at the general overview of data management, what it is, why it's important, and what are the key aspects that we need to pay attention to when we are looking at data management. We are also going to look at the installation of the tools for data management. And in our sessions, we are going to use RStudio. We are going to use QGIS. We are going to use GitHub. Now, the choice of RStudio, QGIS is basically basing on the fact that these are open source and free softwares that we have available. So we are going to use them. And then also, we are going to look at the data sets, their descriptions, and how and what metadata can be available for your data, and why it's important for you to access and have metadata for information that has been collected that you want to use for decision making. And so the other thing is we are going to look at how to use RStudio for data management. We are going to look at how to use RStudio for exploratory data analysis. We are also going to introduce and focus and use QGIS for managing data and visualization of spatial data. And then, since data management also involves storing, sharing information on the web and in places that are secure, we shall introduce and see how to use GitHub for sharing information and for storing information. If time allows, we shall also look at other different ways of cloud storage, including the Amazon. But this is what we intend to cover this week. So we would like you to be able to access a computer, because we are going to install RStudio if you don't already have it. We are also going to install QGIS. And if you also don't have GitHub or you don't have a GitHub account, we shall also create some and be able to put our information there and be able to share it as well. So in the meantime, as you access the Google Drive, please find the document for the installation of R and RStudio. It's right there in the Google Drive so that you can install R and RStudio. You're also going to install QGIS, but for QGIS, you can start downloading. We may do the installation after the class today, and that is because we are not going to use QGIS in this particular session of today. So today we'll focus on R and RStudio. And so it's important that you download R, install it, download RStudio, install it as we go along. So let me talk about the general overview of data management and what it means and what it entails. I know some and many of us attended the previous sessions, but just to bring us on board, we are going to look at data management as a practice of collecting, organizing, storing an organization's data so that we can effectively use it for decision making. We are going to see that data management involves a wide range of activities, some of which we hadn't talked about them earlier, but we shall see these activities as we look at the data sets that we have. how to ensure that the data is of good quality, how to understand what governance policies exist for our data sets, but also to maximize the value of the data, because we are looking at data as a strategic asset for decision making for our different institutions, but also for the research that we are conducting. The different researches that we are conducting, whether you are doing this on an individual level, or whether you are doing this as an institution, or whether you are working in a collaboration, the principles are the same. We all need data to make these decisions. So it's important that we understand the entire life cycle of the data sets that we have, or the data that we intend to collect as we gear towards moving into applications of data science onto the data for decision making, for innovation, but also for research. Now, there are certain important key aspects of data management, which we shall run through before we go into accessing the data itself. So again, we need to understand that data management is more of a life cycle, and it involves a life cycle of data itself. So when you're looking at data management comprehensively, you will be looking at data collection, gathering your information from various sources. Please identify the sources, whether they are internal or external to the organization. How you are going to store the data, it should be securely and efficiently stored, whether you're going to do it on the premises or you are going to do it in the cloud. And you should also look at data organization, how you are going to structure, how you're going to organize in a data that will make it easy for other people to access and to use. Now, when you collect data, sometimes other people need to access that information in a way that is easy for them to understand. If you're doing collaboration, make sure that data is structured in a way that is understandable for collaborators and for the different people that need to use the same data set to make various decisions. Also, we focus on data quality, ensure that the dimensions of data quality are checked so we can use data which is of good quality to make good decisions. Poor quality data often leads to poor decisions being made. And then we also need to look at the data security, which is something that we've seen before. How are you going to protect your data from unauthorized access? How are you going to prevent that data from getting lost where you have stored it? Okay, whether the collection was done on paper, whether it was done online, you need to be able to protect your data so that it is secure. Then there's data governance, which we saw. We need policies in place that govern the use of our data. So data misuse is something that is common, especially when data lands into the wrong hands. So it's important that you have policies, whether they are institutional based, or whether they are international policies, or whether they are specific to the country where the data is being collected. There has to be some policies that govern the procedures for managing your data, data ownership, access control, as well as compliance. Now, it takes, sometimes we see challenges, especially with data ownership. When you're working in a collaboration, when you're collecting information, you need to be clear who owns the data, because if you are not clear on who owns the data, you may not be able to use that data to make any decisions, even if you collect it. So it's important that you clearly establish who owns the data that you are using and what type of permissions need to be given in order for that information to be used. And then, of course, there is data analysis, which is very important because it is the way in which we are going to gain insights and support decision-making using various tools, using various statistical methods, using various visualization approaches so that we can be able to gain the best insights. So when it comes to data analysis, it is important, again, to have the right skill set to analyze the types of data that you have. You need to know, are you dealing with spatial data? Are you dealing with images? Are you dealing with longitudinal data? Are you dealing with big data? What kind of data are you dealing with? And data analysis also requires domain expertise. So the people that are analyzing the data need to understand the metrics that are used in the sector or within the domain through which the data is being generated. If you're dealing, for example, with agriculture data, you need to understand the metrics. You need to understand the research questions. You need to understand what constitutes significance of results that are being generated. Again, if you're dealing with things like health or finance, different metrics. We may have the same methods, but you may need different to understand the metrics. But also, different fields may require different types of analysis that are very specific to that kind of data that you have. For example, if you attended the previous sessions, we looked at bioinformatics, a very brief introduction. Now, there are certain tools and certain methods that are specific, for example, to bioinformatics data. So it is important that the people that are doing the analysis understand the metrics, the methods that are available, and the tools that are available for the kind of analysis that they are doing. And then lastly, we need to understand the data lifecycle management as well. So do you have procedures in place to manage data through its entire life cycle? And that is from the creation of the data, as we saw from the beginning, that data collection is a key aspect of data management. So you need to have a plan that manages the entire life cycle of data, from creating the data to archiving and destroying information. Now, in researches and probably institutions, archiving and destruction are sometimes not taken into consideration when people are planning how to manage data through its entire life cycle. And yet it is very, very important. So if you're dealing with policies, for example, in the IRB, different institutions have different rules and regulations concerning archiving and destruction of information. Remember, if you are going to do research, if you're going to collaborate, you might be collecting sensitive information that doesn't need to really get into the wrong hands. So what happens when you have finished using the data? You need to archive that data, or sometimes you really need to destroy that information. So there needs to be procedures in place for archiving the information securely, but also for the destruction of that information so that it doesn't go into the wrong hands. Because data in the wrong hands will lead to misuse of data. So these are generally the key aspects of data management that you need to be aware of, that you need to take care of, that you need to think about if, for example, you are moving towards large data collection, but even small data collection. But these days we have pretty much enough information to be considered big. So again, the tools that we are going to concentrate on are RStudio and R, QGIS, and GitHub. So at this point, it's important that you download R, install RStudio, and also you can start downloading QGIS basing on the guide that is on the Google Drive. I just want to find out if we have been able to access Google Drive itself. All right, so somebody's saying they can't access, and other people have been able to access and download. Okay, so I see the link has been shared again. Please continue to download RStudio. Continue to download R and RStudio, because we are going to proceed and we are going to take a look at what happens in R. So we need you to have the software downloaded according to the instructions. And so in the chat, please confirm if you have downloaded, installed R and RStudio, if you're still downloading R and RStudio. So I will be looking at the chat just to see how many have been able to download. All right, still downloading. Someone has them already installed. Okay, download. So it's not just downloading the PDF, it's clicking in the link in the PDF so you can download both R and RStudio. So because we're going to have practicals mainly throughout the week, I will pause a bit as you do the download and the installation. Please continue to download and install. Install both R and RStudio. You can start with R, then you install R, then you install RStudio. And if you are failing to install, you can also type in the chat there. Please make sure you have both R and RStudio. David, somebody is inquiring if it's possible to record the sessions. Okay.
Yes, please, we are already recording the session.
Yes.
We can share the link towards the end.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Somebody's saying they failed to download. Please. Okay, if you can't hear, you may need to check your audio. Okay, so please check on the chat. David has kindly reshared the link to the Google Drive materials. In there, you will find everything that we need for the session today, including the installation of RStudio, including the installation of QGIS. Please concentrate on installing R and RStudio. So somebody is saying they cannot see what I'm doing. Right now, I am actually doing nothing because I am pausing so that those who are downloading R and RStudio can do that and get done with it as we go into looking at the practical approaches and seeing how we can actually use R. All right, so David said the sessions are being recorded in case you didn't, in case you missed that communication. So install the QGIS, the long-term version. If you see it there, when you click on your screen. So just to confirm again, we are waiting for those who are installing R and RStudio. Download RStudio and run that installation. We have a few more minutes before we proceed. We have a few more minutes before we proceed. Okay, so I see we have been able to access the material. I also see that people have successfully installed R and RStudio. Some people are still installing. Please continue to download and install. Continue to download and install R and RStudio. Later, towards the end, you will complete the installation of QGIS. Okay, please continue to download. And so if you have accessed the material, I will be explaining the data sets that are in there. I will be explaining the data sets that are in there. And so you will have to download those. And as we create our projects in R, you will download all those data sets and put them in that one folder. That is the reason why it is important that you access the Google Drive, because we're going to keep uploading. It is important that you download and install R because we are going to use it for this particular session. Okay, so continue installing, continue downloading. I see that many people have successfully installed, downloaded. We can proceed. For now, we will make another pause, but please continue downloading R and RStudio. QGIS, you can download, but we will do the installation towards the end. As for GitHub, we shall install it on another day. All right, so I am now going to move to the next slide. So in the next slide, it is just the link to the Google Drive and specifically access how to install R and RStudio from the PDF files that are there. Follow the instructions, which is exactly what we have been doing, okay? Now, we proceed to a brief description of the data that we are going to look at today. We have data sets in the Google folder. We have the Kisumu main vendor data. This is a CSV file. We also have animal health data, which is also a CSV file. We shall upload other data sets, but it's important that you access these particular ones. If you can't see them, please let me know. So this information, first of all, this data is publicly available. You can access this data on the website at the University of Harvard. So the Kisumu main vendor data set is what you're seeing on my screen right now. It is a survey that was done in Kenya, in Kisumu in particular. It has information about vendors and the agricultural products that they are selling. So it has information about their location. It has information about, of course, their demographics, but it also has quite a lot of information. So if I can, I will open the data sets at a later time. You can be able to open that data. We shall scroll through and see the different variables that are there. But again, it's important that when you have a spreadsheet of your data, you can first look at it. Seeing the data gives you an understanding of what type of information is in there. Sometimes people extract data from different places and share the information without opening those files. What happens is if there is a mismatch or if there's empty information inside the data, you may not know. So it's important that you are able to see and open files. Sometimes files are corrupted. Okay, it happens a lot. Sometimes files are corrupted. So it's important that you are able to open the file in its format properly and you can see the information that was collected in the way that it is intended to be visible for the users. So this is how your data should look like, the Kisumu main vendor data. And then also we have the animal health data set itself, which we are going to use quite a lot today. This is a data set that has information. This one was collected in Ethiopia. This one has information about species of animals. It has age. It has some information about the birth and so many other information and different variables. So it is pretty a large data set, but it is important for us because we are going to use the data. We're going to see how to dive into that data using R and also how to understand the information that comes from this kind of data. So for now, we're going to look at data that is in spreadsheets, data that is tabular, meaning we are looking at data that is collected in rows and columns, okay? Image data, we shall try to look at that when we go to QGIS, but while we are dealing with R, we are going to concentrate on how to manage and handle tabular data, data that has been stored in rows and columns. So these data sets are large. They have quite a number of variables. And again, remember, you were not there probably when they collected that information. That is an assumption. We might have people here who are part of this data collection, but we also have those who are not part of this data collection. So last time we said it is important that you access the metadata for this kind of information. Data that has been collected and stored is very important. But if the people that are using that data do not understand the variables, why it was collected, what the variables mean, then they may not be able to derive the correct insights from this kind of data. So metadata becomes very important. So each data set that you have that has been stored, that has been collected, should have corresponding meta information that describes the data set. Now, metadata comes in different formats. It can be stored in different ways. And so we are going to look at the metadata for the Kisumu main vendor data, but also for the animal health data, which is also inside that Google Drive. So metadata, again, is information that describes data that has already been collected. Usually, actually, we have come across metadata. Sometimes you just don't know it is metadata. Sometimes it comes in formats that you do not have the right software to open. But if you do, then it's important that you open the metadata and try to understand the kind of data that you're dealing with before you go any further with the description. So here we have a file called the Kisumu Main Vendor Data Dictionary. A data dictionary is a metadata file. It has information about the data that was collected. So this data dictionary has information about the variable names, how they have been stored in the data, a description, so you can understand what the variable names mean. Usually, we have variable names that are similar, or they look like what you want to collect. And we do that just to make sure that people easily understand the data. But again, you need to describe these variable names for people to clearly understand, especially when you do not have the full data collection tool on its own. But now you have some information about the data. So this particular data dictionary also contains the type of the variable that has been collected, where it's categorical. It has the labels, the codes that have been given, the names that have been given to the codes. Sometimes you receive data, and as we are going to see, analysis may be done on the codes of the data. It's important that you have the data dictionary to understand what the codes mean under each of the variables. So because that data set is large, you can always go through this data dictionary to understand, especially what the variable name means, because we are going to address data in each column basing on the variable name. The other thing that I must say is, if we are looking at data, tidy data that is in rows and columns, we remember that each column collects unique data. Each column collects unique data. For that reason, it's important that you understand what is inside the column. Is it age in years? Is it age in weeks? Is it age in days? It's important that you understand how the data was collected and what is stored, because failure to do that will lead you to use wrong methods or to conceptualize the variable wrongly and therefore perform an analysis approach that is not appropriate for the information that has been stored. So these mistakes can happen and you may not detect them at the time of analysis. So before you go deep into analyzing data, it's important that you understand the description of the data that you have. So that is the data dictionary for the Kisumu data. Now we also have the code book for the animal health data. There is also a file that has a description of the columns that are there. So you will see the names of the columns, okay? And you can quickly understand a description of what has been collected. And after that, you should be able to understand when we go into analysis and what type of analysis you're trying to get and why, okay, basing on the type of data that is there. So understanding these data dictionaries, metadata, whether they're in code books, whether they're in text files, whether they're in JSON files, whether they're in whichever format, is very important. And it doesn't require you to be in R, it doesn't require you to be using Python. Unfortunately, we are not going to do Python in this round, maybe in the future, but Python will also be a very good tool to explore and understand our data. So we have metadata in this format. So for other data sets that we shall upload, we shall also upload the metadata associated with it, so that when you are looking at the data and you don't understand, you may have a reference point to be able to understand what has been collected, maybe even why it has been collected. Even on the website where this data has been stored, there is information about this data set. So it's pretty much important. We shall go and see the actual files.
Hello, please.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm getting a lot of feedback, but the voice is cracking. You can hear the words, but some of them get lost. So I don't know, maybe you can move
The
closer to the
connection.
mic, or- yeah, I don't know whether it's a connection issue.
All right, so let me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it sounds clear now. I think you continue with it.
Is it clear now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So as we proceed, we are now going to look at R itself, and we are going to take an introduction to R. So I suppose now you have installed R and RStudio. You have installed R and RStudio, and we can, okay, somebody is saying they still can't hear me. So let me try to.
Yes, it has started cracking again. The voice, I don't know.
All right, so just a minute here. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and see if this can improve. All right, can you hear me? Or is it the same?
I think it is still not yet quite there. I don't know what we're going to do.
Okay,
Please, is it possible for you to change the network?
I've changed the network. Can you hear me now?
Yes, looks clear now.
It's much clearer.
Yes, much clearer.
Okay. All right, so we have, all right, so I think it's much better now. So I will share my screen again. If you can see my screen, please confirm. If you can see my screen, please confirm. right. So we are going to go into R. We are going to look at the introduction to R, then RStudio, and then we run our R project and we start our practicals. So R is a programming language that is used for data management. We use it for data analysis. We use R for visualization. We use R for many other things. One important thing that we need to know about R is that it easily integrates with other programming languages. It easily integrates with other programming languages, which we are going to see. It also has a vast community of users, and so it is easy to get help if you're stuck and you're using R on your own. Okay, so the key thing here is that it's free, and so it is easy for everybody to access R, unless you don't have permission to install the software on the machine that you're using. So that is R. And then this RStudio. Now, what is the difference between R and RStudio? RStudio is not a programming language, but rather it is an IDE, an integrated development environment for R, and sometimes for Python as well. So RStudio will help us to use R seamlessly and easily, as we are going to see. So if you're doing your installation, you must install R, which is the programming language itself. Then you install RStudio, which is the IDE that helps us to use R seamlessly. And so when you are opening to start using R, you need to open RStudio itself. Then when you open RStudio, it will connect you to R, and then we shall see how that interface actually looks like. Again, RStudio is also open source, but it also has some commercial editions. And depending on the machine that you're using, whether it's Windows, whether it's Mac or Linux, you should be able to use R and RStudio. So that is about the software. The only way to understand the software is to use the software and to get efficient at using the software, but also to allow yourself to learn how to use the software for the various capabilities that the software has. Okay, so if you want more information about RStudio, you can always find it on this link. When you get the slides, you have access to the link so that you can be able to read more about RStudio and what versions you might want to install for the different capabilities that you have. So if you have installed R and RStudio, what you need to open is RStudio. When you open RStudio, you will have a screen like this. I will get out of PowerPoint and actually go to RStudio, but you will have your screen looking like this. This is the R console. Here we have an environment. We shall see what goes into the environment, what we expect to see when we start bringing our data into R. And then down here, when we start visualizing data, we shall see the plots down here. When we want to install packages, we will install them from here as well. When we want some help, we shall come here. When we want to know our directory and the files that are in our directory, we shall be able to get them from here. These are 3 screens. R generally has 4 screens. This icon here contains another screen, which will be the script editor, which we shall go through when we actually go into RStudio. So when you open RStudio, we expect you to see this, okay? So now, practically, we're going to go to your software. You open RStudio, and you should be able to see something like this. So practically, you should see a screen here, which is the script editor. It's probably empty if you're opening for first time, or if it's blank. If you've been using R, it probably has some script that you've been running, okay? But at this point, we are going to assume that we are starting out to learn how to use this software. So you should have 4 windows in your RStudio, the script editor. You should see the console down here. This is where the executions are going to take place. This is the actual R itself that runs the different instructions that we are going to give, either in the script editor up here, or we can also type them directly into the console. But we shall see which one is more convenient and how convenient it is to either use the console or to actually use the script editor to manage data, to analyze, and to visualize data. On this side, you should see the environment. Now mine is empty because we have not yet started importing and looking at our data sets. Our data sets are still on the Google Drive. If you have downloaded them, they're probably somewhere. And we shall see that you cannot analyze data that has not been brought into the environment of R. So just because you have data on your machine, on the desktop, or I don't know, in the documents, in the download, it doesn't mean that now because you've opened R, you can now access the data from there and analyze it. You will have to import and bring it here. That is something that we are practically going to do. And then down here, make sure you can see your files, menu. You can see the plots. You can see the packages, the help, etc. We shall see how we can use all this. It's important now that you are able to open RStudio and that you have the same file like you're seeing on my screen. Meanwhile, if you are having challenges, or if you're not seeing your RStudio, you're going to have to use the chat so we can see what challenge you might have, but also to help. Okay, somebody's saying, is it possible to demonstrate how to change the screen such that RStudio looks like the one you have? Somebody is having a different interface. I don't know the interface you have, but if you have, you should be having 4 screens. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't have 4 screens, you may have 3 screens like this. Okay. So if you have 3 screens, it's because one of them has not been put up. So these icons can help you. Also, you can view all the panes from here, all of them. Just make sure you check this so you can have all the 4. So because you are opening R, I may pause a bit just to see what type of challenges are people having. So please type if you have 3 screens, if you are seeing yours, if you're not seeing yours, it will help us very fast. You might be having the same issue. And also, please, the rest of us, you can respond to people if you have yours. So people have 3 screens. There are those who are okay, there are those who have 3 screens, there are those who have 4. You should be having 4 screens, really. If you have 3 screens, it is because you have not opened the script editor. When you go here, make sure that all the panes are being shown. Or if you are having something like this, it means the other screen needs to be open from here. Click on this icon here and open that and make it visible. That's all you need to do. Make it visible, and then we should all have 4 screens. Okay. So I will use the feedback that I'm seeing on the chat. And so I'm seeing 4 screens, 4 screens. It simply means we have successfully opened all the 4 screens of RStudio. Somebody has only 1 screen. Okay, so we all have 4 screens, I can see now. Okay, so if you're seeing files appearing on the 4th screen, that's fine, because your working directory is on your laptop. I just haven't shown mine. The important thing is you should have 4 screens. Your screen may not look like mine, but they should be exactly 4. Okay, so we have the 4 screens, and then we go back to the PowerPoint, and we proceed. Just keep your screen open, the one of RStudio. It will be of very much help. So now I'm going to introduce what we call an R project. R projects help us to organize our workflow, okay? So if you're dealing with one project for your data analysis, okay, one research project, one research goal, one institutional decision-making project, then it's important that you organize them into projects so that whenever you're working in that project, you are accessing all the information that are there. Because sometimes what happens is we get confused when we are trying to access a lot of information that is scattered all over the machines in different directories. So when you're dealing with an R project and everything is in one project, it is easy to access them. It is easy to do the analysis. We've seen situations where people have accessed the wrong data and used it to do analysis just because maybe the datasets have the same names somewhere on different locations in the lab, whatever machine you're using or wherever they're being stored. So we are going to all create our own projects. We are going to have the same project name, and we are all going to put it on a desktop. It will be much easier for us to do. So I will take you through how to create the project. Now, this is important. It's important that you create the project because everything that you're going to download from the Google Drive is going to go into that folder that we are going to create. And after that, we shall then be able to smoothly move through what we are doing. So that is why we are going to create an R project. Another thing is an R script is something that we are also going to look at. So an R script is a file that will store the R code for analysis. Now, R is code-based. It's important that you understand the language, and that language comes in form of its code. And that code is stored in a file called a script. Why do you need to store your code? Because you can use it over and over again. So for purposes of reproducibility, it is going to be important that you generate a script that stores the code that you use to repeatedly manage your data, probably perform the same type of analysis on the data. And that is because if the data, if you collect new data, then it's important that you see how it behaves. You see what insights it provides for you in order to help you either make better decisions, change the decisions you made, or to just understand what quality of information is being collected at any given time, either in your research project, but also for your institution for decision making. So we are going to eventually use code, okay? It takes time to learn, but we are surely going to learn how to use the code if you haven't already learned. So we are going to create a project for this training because that is where we are going to do our analysis from, on the data sets that we put, okay? So I'm going to take us through how to create the project, and then we pause and we practically do it. So that's going to be a live demonstration. But before we go there, I will run you through the steps. So in the steps to create the project that we're going to use for this particular session and the sessions coming throughout the week, we are going to go to File. Up here, you will see File, and then we are going to create a new project in your RStudio. After that, you will choose a new directory. That's because we want to put ours really on the desktop. You will choose a new directory. And then after that, you will choose a new project. Remember, we're going to do this practically, but you need to see the end goal before you start. And then you are going to choose, we'll browse and choose the desktop. Now I'm doing that because I just want us to be able to see our project quickly without looking for it in the downloads, in the documents. It gets lost, and it's very frustrating when you cannot access the data that you want. All the scripts, all the data sets are in different locations. Now the R codes are not working simply because you can't locate that information. So on your desktop, you will browse to the desktop, just like we see down here. And then you will give it a name. Now, what name are you going to give it? We all want us to call it data underscore management for everyone. I want us to have the project as data underscore management, and then you will click on create the project. And after that, when you go on the desktop, you should be able to see a folder, data management. Please do not create the folder on your own, like going to the desktop and just putting that folder there. You have to create it in R so that the project is stored inside right there. So with those instructions, now we go back to R. And for all of us, I already have it, but I'm going to go through the process anyway. So please go to File, and then New Project. And I would like us to do this. If I'm fast, you let me know. Click on New Project. Mine is loading. And proceed. So create a new project. Okay, mine is already in that directory. When you see new directory, like you're seeing, click on the new directory. And when you click on that new directory, make sure you are under new project. And then if you are not in your desktop down here, browse and look for the desktop. Here in the directory name, remember, we are all going to call it data underscore management. This is a very important step. Otherwise, we will have code that will not locate our information. So in the directory name, we have data underscore management, and we are going to put it on the desktop. And then create project. Click on create project. Now, I'm not going to create the project because I already have it. Please click on create project. And then in the chat, type there, yes, if you have succeeded. Yes, if you have succeeded. So I will give a moment for everybody to create, for those that are working on the laptop and those that have successfully gone to RStudio. Create the project. If you have any challenges, type the challenge and let us know. Somebody is asking, will we receive a certificate of participation? Yes, if you attend all the trainings and you do all the assignments, which we shall clearly give. I am in the chat. Somebody is saying, they are not checking the chat. I'm in the chat now. I have paused so that you can go to your folder. Somebody says they got lost long time ago. Okay, so as the rest of us create, I am going to repeat this process because it's important. It's important. So if you have not yet created your folder or your project, this is what you're going to do. Come to File and go to New Project. Okay. If you're lost, you can watch and then just follow the steps. So it takes a bit of time, and after the new project, you will find a new directory, which is what you're going to click, and then you go to new project because we are creating a new project. And then when you have this dialog box here, you are going to make sure you are browsing. If it's not on the desktop, just click on browse here, just like I've done, and choose your desktop, wherever it is, and then open it. Okay. Our interest is to have that as a subdirectory of the desktop because your folder or your project is going to appear there with a folder on the desktop. But we want that folder to be called data_management. That is what we want to see. Then create the project. And I'm not clicking create a project for my case because my project is already created. And how do you know your project is created? You will see the name up here, data management. So mine is already created. So I'm not going to create. Please create yours and type in the chat yes when you have succeeded. The PowerPoint will be given to you after. Okay, created. Someone is saying they can't hear me. Please confirm you can hear me. So, okay, so all right, so it looks like we have people that have been able to create their project. So when you go on your desktop, make sure you see this folder here called data management. This folder is important because that's where we're going to work. And now that is where your directory has been put for everyone that has been able to create their project. So in RStudio, also, you will see the name of your data_management here if you have successfully created that. So it's important that you create it. Now, what do? We can now proceed. We can now proceed. Meanwhile, before you proceed, looking at your folder, can you please download whatever is in the Google folder into that folder? So on your Google Drive, there are datasets. There are files, datasets. Now download them and put them on the desktop inside that particular folder. And because of that, I'm going to give 2 minutes for you to do that. It's important that we have the data sets now in one place. So bring the data sets, download them from the Google Drive, and put them in the data management folder that you have created. Please don't create this folder out of R onto your desktop. It will not have the project itself. It will not have the project itself. So the pause is for you to download from the Google Drive. If you do not have access to the Google Drive, we have been putting someone is saying, where are the, put all the files, all the data sets. Somebody says they don't have access to the Google Drive. So they have been sharing that link to the Google Drive. I've shared that link again. Okay, somebody's saying the downloads are slow. And somebody's saying, should we download everything? Yes. Download the files, especially the data files. Download the data files. Download the data files. So access them. Somebody wants to see on my side. So this is all your folder looks like. Let me just go there. If you can see my screen, this is the folder that we're talking about. This is the folder that we're talking about. Okay, so I want you to download. Actually, download the code book, the day one data management.r. I mean, you can leave the installation into, if you haven't already installed, by now you're probably installed. Download the Kisumu dictionary, the vendor data itself. This one is a SETA file, download it. This one is a SAS file. This one is an SPSS file. This is a text delimited file. This is an Excel file. Just download all of them. This is the animal health data. This is a link to the free survey in case you didn't fill it. So I want you to download this data, all of them, put them in that folder. And I'm going to give you time because this is the data we are going to analyze and we need it. So how do you download? You click on that button there and download that information. And so you need access to this Google Drive, and that's the link that has been shared on the chat. If you don't have it, you can type there. Somebody is saying, what file should we put? I've shown you that this, just put all of them, we will need them. Upload all the files. So I'm giving you time. Somebody says share the link again. The link is there. Oh, if you have downloaded a zipped file, unzip it and copy the information that is there direct, not in a folder. Copy the files and put them in your data management folder. Yes, somebody said they copied the files. Yes, it's acceptable. That is what we want. That is what we need. Now, I cannot proceed if you don't have that data. I cannot proceed if you do not have the data in that folder. So somebody's saying it's showing one face. Francis, I have not understood that one. Do you mean one window? You may need to clarify. When you download, open, if it's a zip folder, open it and copy whatever it is and put it inside your folder. All right, so I can see that we are now downloading and we are succeeding. It's important that somebody's saying, what is displaying one window? Is it your RStudio? How do you copy the data into your folder? Just right click and copy, or highlight, right click and copy, and take it and paste it there. Yeah, so somebody's RStudio has only one. I don't know if you could take a screenshot and attach it here, that would make it perfect for us. Somebody, you can also answer him, please. Okay. So they're saying you might have opened R. Please open RStudio. Open RStudio instead of R. We are opening RStudio, not R. R is installed because it will be used. So when you go to your folder, which is now what I'm going to show you on my desktop, your data management folder, this one, which you created, should have, when you open it, okay, it should have the files, the ones you copy. I mean, I have more things, but I want you to have, this will be created, it should be there by default, but I want you to have this one because you downloaded it. You will have others you may not have because you're going to create them, but these Kisumu datasets here, these ones, the SAS, the SAB, the main vendor, these ones here, they should come. You should put them here before we start, because how else are you going to access the data if they do not appear in the project or in the folder that you have created? The danger of having your dataset outside the folders is that you will have to know and change the file path to that data set every time you want to access that data for analysis. And it can be very tedious if you want to run. And if you're running scripts, then that means you have to keep changing the file path inside the script, okay? It's not something that we want to do at this point. So now that we have successfully downloaded data and we can access this folder, now it's going to be important for us to understand how to use R to actually deal with our data. Remember, data management is a very important aspect of the data lifecycle. And that is what we want to do now. So I will be back to my PowerPoint. And before I go to so we've been able to create the project. What I want is to now proceed on how to actually use the data. So I will go to the mode, presentation mode, just so you're able to see what I'm doing. Okay. So right from the beginning, we need to understand what we are going to use and how we're going to use it. I want to introduce R syntax. R syntax is the language that R uses to execute the tasks that we are going to execute, like data management, and data analysis. Okay, so it's a language specific to R that is not difficult for us to learn and use, but it is necessary because that's the only language that R understands. For those of us that have never coded or anything. So it's important that you understand that it's important that you must learn the language. That's one. Another important thing about this R language is that it is case sensitive. So if you name something data with a small d and another one with a capital D, these two are different things. So when you want to now analyze data from here and you call it using capital D, it will not read this data set. It will read this one. And if the variable you're looking for is in this data and not this one, then you will not be able to run the analysis. The other danger is if there is a variable here, age, and another one here, age, you might end up accessing the age in data and think that you're accessing the age in this data set and actually do the analysis and get results that are not right for what you intended to do. So you can actually run analysis and do it on the wrong data set. So it's important that you are careful in understanding how you are naming the data sets. It is a core of data management. It's a core of data management. Another thing that you need to know is that our syntax is stored in the scripts. So we are going to look at the scripts really. We already have a script that we are going to look at, and we can be able to add our own scripts there as we learn them. Now, one thing you need to note is that you're not going to learn all the codes and the functions today or even this week. R is so vast, does so many things. So your learning will take a bit of time, but you will learn and have all the basics that you need. Also, because R can be complex, we have a way of putting comments to explain what we are doing and what we are using the code for. Okay, so we are going to see which one is a comment. How do you know that this is a comment? How do you know that this is the actual code? Can you add your own comment? Sometimes somebody is running an analysis and you don't know what the code is doing. How can you understand that? By them putting a comment to explain what they're doing. The script is able to contain both the comment and the code. It helps with the understanding. It helps with collaboration for you to understand what the other person did. Okay, sometimes you want to do a check on the procedures that were done or performed on the data. So if you receive the script, then you can have and see a documentation of what was done, and you can follow through. And maybe you can spot a mistake. Maybe you can now understand why the other person did what they did. And maybe you can see if it is right or wrong. So in collaboration, it is important in its basic form that you are able to critique and understand what other people are doing if you're doing the same thing to make decisions for the institution. So our syntax is a concept that you will have to get used to and use. Another thing that you're going to have to understand, which we are going to see, is what is an R object. Okay, so I'll explain what an R object is, and then we go to R and we see exactly what it is. So R objects are used to store data within. So an R object is what stores the data. So if it's a data set, in R we call it an object. It has a name. It has a unique name. Okay? If you call it data, then that is the data set. If you call it my data, that is the data set. So you need to know, what are you calling your data? Are you giving it a name that you will not forget? Are you giving it a name that is easy to understand? And we also don't give names. And there are certain ways in which you give names. For example, the name should not contain a space. So if you want to call your data set my data, and you want a space in between, then you need to put an underscore. You cannot call it my data with space. So we shall see all the things. R will not allow. And you'll quickly realize that it's important for you to name your objects correctly. Otherwise, it will not be stored in the environment. And I'll show you how and where you can be able to see your data from. Another thing that is important that we are going to demonstrate now is how do you save that object in R? How do you save that object in R? Because you can perform operations in R without saving. But if you want to save the data, then you must use what we call an assignment operator. So we shall show whenever we use the assignment operator, and you'll quickly realize that wherever you see this, it means you are creating something new in the environment and you're giving it a name. So before the assignment operator, this one, okay, you will give a name, and we shall see where you place the name and what it contains. For example, this one, it will store data, and that data will contain letter A. So we have a data set that contains only one thing, which is the data. Now, when you import data, it will also store the entire data set that you brought. Still, it will call that data set in R data. So we are going to practically do that and see this information that you have been bringing from your Google Drive. How can you now start doing the analysis? So it's important that you understand what our objects are and what they can do and why it's important. Sometimes you run analysis and now you do not see the data. It's because you probably didn't save it. And it's important that you know how to do that, okay? So the other thing is an R function. Simple functions are inbuilt and they perform certain tasks. We are going to look at them. We are going to look at functions that get the variance of a data set, functions that get the mean, functions that get a frequency distribution table, functions that produce histograms, functions that produce scatter plots, functions that do various things. So that when for example, sometimes you're going to run and then we see errors. They say the function cannot be found, okay? What are they talking about? It means the code that is supposed to perform that particular function has not been found, either because you wrote it wrongly or because you did not load the library. Now we cannot see it. The R cannot recognize it. So it is important that you know that functions perform different tasks. And when we go into our script, we shall be able to see them from the beginning. Okay. Now, with that understanding, we are going to a part that is the most important. I told you that you cannot analyze data which is not inside R, okay? So because you cannot analyze data which is not inside R, you need to learn how to import data into R. And also at this point, we need to know that R can import data from different softwares. You don't even need to have that software on your machine for you to import data from that software. For example, you don't need to have Stata on your computer. You don't need to have SAS on your computer. You don't need to have SPSS on your computer for you to import data that comes from SPSS. So if somebody sends you data in SPSS format, in SAS format, in Stata format, all you need is to put it in your folder or on your desk or wherever it is and bring it into R. Then R will open it up and you'll be able to see it. So that's a very good advantage of R. You don't need other softwares. And even when you want to send out the data, which you shall see in different formats, you also still don't need the other softwares to do that. R will send it, convert it, and you can send the file as long as you have the correct file extension. So we now need to learn how to bring our data sets, okay? There are very simple ways of importing the data from RStudio. okay? But after that, you will quickly realize that the code that imported the data is easier to use in the script. But because now we haven't written any script or we haven't opened any script, we are going to go and see how can we import data. Now, I told you R can import different types. You also need to understand what are the file extensions for these types of data. It's important. For example, we will see stata is a .dta file, SAS is .sas, SPSS will be .sav. Okay, text will be .txt, Excel.csv for, all those. So it's important that you know, and then you do the importation. So we are going to import those data sets that you put. We are going to start with one of them and see if you can see it in your environment. And how do we do that? Now going to R. Okay. So in R here, you can see my screen. We import data in two ways. There is an import data set here, which makes it very easy. And when you click here, okay, you can import data from text, you can import data from SPSS, you can import data from stata, etc. Okay, I would like us to start by importing data. If you're using this, we are going to import data that is in a CSV format. And I want to show on your desktop, mine is loading. If you can see, for some reason it's slow. Okay, it's loading. So on your desktop, where your folder is, which is data management, I want you to make sure that you can see. For example, so I know by now you have downloaded the Kisumu main vendor file. That is the file that I want you to import using that approach. So when we go back to R, we are going to go to import from text, read R here. And it's going to prepare it for import. So I'm going to import and then pause. Then you do the same. Now, when you see this, you browse and find it. You browse and find it. So you go to your folder and look for it. So I want this Kisumu main vendor data. So I will pause. So you need to wait for it to open, and it will preview the data when it loads it before you import. Now the import button here is inactive because it is importing that data. So some data sets are very large, and you need to give time for it to be processed. So we are waiting to have the preview there. It's taking a bit of time. So it's going to load, and that's what I want you to also do. Yours may take a shorter time. Okay, so mine has. So now, this is the vendor data set inside here. in R. So when it loads the preview like that, okay, then you come here down and then click on import. Now, when it loads, it doesn't mean it has imported. You click on import. And then allow it to import. When it imports, I'll stop so you can see. So how do you know that it's working? You see this red button here? When it goes off, it means the data has been imported. And it's loading. So what are the changes? One, you need to see it here in the environment. You need to see that data here. You can quickly see how many observations are there and how many variables, but you need to, under the environment, now you should see the data name to prove that the data has been imported. And this is what we call object. The object here is the name that has been given to the data that we have brought into R. And that data has been loaded for you to see. So you can be able to see the data and how it looks like. Now, when you go through your data, you can know the number of columns from here. There are 319 columns, but clearly when you view from here, you're seeing a few. So you can always use these buttons to skip to the last columns, okay? To see which columns are at the end and allow it to load. And then, yeah, you can see all the columns. You can scroll down to see all the data from the first maybe to the last observation. Now, it's important that you are able to get the information in R for us to manage the data within R, because it is here that we are going to see and start knowing what insights can we get. So I have to pause so that you import your data. I'm pausing right here. So you import your data. Make sure you see it in your environment. That is the only confirmation we need to know if the data has been imported successfully into R. At this moment, and meanwhile, if you have successfully imported, please type there. Somebody says the file name I imported is Kisumu _main. So here, this is the name of that file. When it's even in Excel, it's on Kisumu main vendor. So when you do the importation from here, it will, if you don't have the package, it will install it. And we are going to see how to install packages. But now we are doing this so you can be able to see that. Please confirm when you succeed. Somebody is saying they have 50 columns only. Probably you are not seeing them. Yeah, if they prompt you to install, you just click install. So people have imported. No, we haven't yet gone to installation of packages. We want you to have your data. Somebody said we repeat the process. If you didn't see the process, repeating it now, you can just see here. I'm not going to click up to the end, but I'm going to show you exactly where to click. So if you fail to import, come back here to import dataset right here. And from there, the CSV file is imported from the readr packet here. So this is what you're going to click. And when you click there, then you browse and find the Kisumu underscore main dataset, you know. So if I browse here, it's important that you bring your data into R because it is going to, so you come here and look for that data. I want to believe you downloaded it already from the Google Drive. So this main vendor dataset is the one that I want you. If it requires you to install packages, click install. Okay. Then after that, it's previewing. When it previews, this button import will be successfully activated. Then you click there. In the chat, please continue typing yes if you have imported. We need to see that process going on, because after that, we can have our data. How can I remove the wrongly imported data from RStudio? Leave them there, it doesn't matter. RStudio, first of all, we're going to import very many data sets. So leave them at the right one. It will not do anything. So R can contain as many data sets as you want to in there. Yeah. Then you can import. So all types of things are happening there, but what I want to know particularly is the fact that you have successfully imported data into R and that you can see the Kisumu main vendor data here. Now you can close the data set with this one from here. You can click on this button here and close it. Okay. And then we know that you have successfully done that. Okay. So somebody says it cannot establish that it's either XL or XLS. It's because you are trying to import a CSV using an Excel file. If you're here on import dataset, please don't choose Excel because this is not an Excel file. And it's important that you pay attention to the file extensions. The Kisumu vendor data has a file extension of .csv. So you cannot click on import and from Excel. If you do from Excel, it will not understand the file extension. Then it will produce that error that says it cannot establish whether it is Excel or XLS because you probably clicked Excel. Okay, so it's important that you are, because CSV is a text file with the comma separated values. So it is text and you choose read R. We are also going to import Excel, but for now we are importing a CSV file. So you don't have to have that. So someone says repeat how to close the script. I mean, first of all, if you want to see it, you just click on that name of the dataset. And then, okay. Then if you see it, so this is what I had earlier. You are probably asking, how can you close the dataset when you open it like this? The name of the dataset here has this X sign. When you click on it, okay, so at this point, I see that we have successfully brought our data here. So that is an important step because you need to be able to bring that data set without any challenges. All right. David, can you confirm if you can still hear me very well?
Yes, please, you're clear.
All right. So we are going to proceed, and I'm going to share my PowerPoint again from where we stopped. So for now, we will have to switch in between because we are trying to get our data in. So this is to show you that I can get information into R quite fast, and then proceed. So this is how to load the data, which you have already done. The code, this is how the data looks like. And when you now succeed, you have your data here. You have the actual data here. This is the object that has a name. I mean, this is a different one, but now you have the external vendor data. Then you have the data here, and what was executed appears in the console. The important thing is, did you succeed in bringing the data? Yes or no? If you succeeded, then we are good to go. We now proceed. Our packages. Somebody talked about packages. So now so what is an R package? And what does it do? So R packages perform specific functions such as data management, data analysis, and sometimes it's important that you install the packages, you understand what the packages do, and use them. So we are going to install our packages. Now we are going to see how to install the packages, where they are, and at this be able to use the script. Okay. So of the things you downloaded, okay, I'm now going back to R. Go and open an R script that we have already put. And then we are going to go through the R script and explain what it is. So go to File and Open. File. And when you go to Open File, it should take you to the directory. You're going to open the R script file we have introduced. Day one underscore data management. Click on Open. Okay, I mean, I already have it. So I want you also to open this, have this on your screen like this. This is an R script that we're going to go through, that we are going to use. So I pause so that you go to File and open the day one data management file, which should be in your folder because you downloaded it as well. And when you succeed, please, when you succeed and you're seeing this script here, you type yes in the chat. Type yes in the chat, or if you're failing, you also type in the chat and we'll help you out. So I am looking at the chat. And somebody is saying, repeat this very slowly. Okay, so I am going to repeat it. Okay, so if you're going to open the day one data management script, if you can hear me, and I'm going to share the PowerPoint, definitely. But if you can hear me, we are going to try and open it again. Okay, so go to File, here, Open File. Go to Open File, okay? Click there and allow it to bring that dialog box. That dialog box should go direct into your data management folder. And from there, look for the file, day one. It should be in there. It's day one _ data management. So here it is. And you click on it and click open. And you should be able to see it on your screen. Yes, so when you put it there, it will show you that there are packages that are needed that are not installed. And please click on install these packages. Click on install those packages. But before I run these scripts, I want to be sure that everybody has opened this. And I'll repeat it one last time. If you want to open the day one data management script, go to File, here, and open File. After opening the file, go to day one data management. Day one data management and open. Now, it's somebody saying they cannot, my file open, file is not responding. It is not responding. It's probably still loading the file. At this point, if you can take a screenshot, you may have to, I don't know if you're able to attach anything on the chat. It would be easy for us to peep through. We also have a WhatsApp group. Eventually, we might have to, because if you're having challenges, we might address some of them out of here. But by now, the reason why somebody says they cannot find the file, the reason why you're not finding the file is because you did not download it from Google, from the Google Drive. So it's important that you have the Google Drive link and open and download it from there. It's very important. So I am giving 1 or 2 minutes so that you can open this file and confirm. Somebody is saying they don't have access to the file. The person who doesn't have access to the file, I am sharing the Google Drive link. It's right there. Just access it there. Okay. Now, if you just join now, it may be difficult, but you can access, just click there and access. Please don't put your WhatsApp numbers here because I'm not going to add you to the group. You just put the link and you join the group. And it will distract us now, so we'll do it during the break. Okay. Now that we are here and you have this script. Remember, even you can write this script. I wrote this script so we can see how a script looks like, okay? So you can type in this script, you can change it, we can even create our own script, but it's important. It's important that you know what a script is, because to be honest, in many occasions, you're not going to sit down and type a script from scratch. You're probably going to have scripts that have already been typed. So can you understand what has been typed? Can you make changes? Can you know when you are changing what is in the script? Can you know when you are altering important information? It's important that you are able to understand how the scripts work, okay? So I'm going to explain the scripts that I wrote for us, and then how can you make it better? How can you write your own script? How can you add things here? The first thing we are going to do is install the packages that we need. We install the packages that we need, okay? How do you install the packages that you need? The function that does that is this one, install.packages, okay? And you need to execute this code for that package to be installed. You need to execute this line for this to be installed. So if you open the script, it will even tell you which packages are not yet installed. And that is why some people are seeing it says package write Excel required that is not installed. It is okay. If it prompts you to install, click on install. If it doesn't prompt you and you don't have them, come here. Now we are going to execute them one by one, and we are only going to start with the packages. In order to execute, you just need to place the cursor. We can do it at once, but I'm not going to do it at once because I want to show the first one, and then we shall install all of them at once. We are going to start with tidyverse. It's a package that is used for data management. It's important. How do you install it? By executing this line. And how do you execute this line? Just make sure that the cursor is on the line, okay? And I'm going to use this approach because you need to see what I'm doing. Otherwise, you can use the keyboard to run this. So make sure the cursor is anywhere. It can be at the beginning here, it can be in the middle, it can be at the end. As long as it's on that line, then you click on run here. Now, I already have tidyverse, but I'm going to run it so you see what happens. So you install by running. Allow it to run. Now, as it's running, you will see activity down here on the console, okay? Leave it to, I already have it, so it's installing. Now it wants me to reopen. So I'll say no because I already have it, but you click there, allow it to run until it's done. So I want all of you to, if you don't have, so mine is, again, it's running. How do you know it is still working? This red button here shows that it is still executing that code. Okay. Somebody saying, yes, click yes on the pop-up. Somebody is saying, can you do it again? I said, put the cursor on that line if you want to execute that line in particular, and go to the run here and click run. It will run either that line or the selection until it's done. When it's done, the red button will go, but also it will show you where the downloaded packages have gone. So, and if you succeed, by the way, go ahead and just install all of them. You can run them at once. You can install one by one, put the cursor there, run, put the cursor there, run. Now, as you run, I am going to be looking at the chat and seeing what's going on. And I'll kind of address them. So Patrick is saying, can all these activities be done offline? If I understand you well, are you saying, can we run the installation of the packages offline? If you clarify that, then I will explain. So yeah, if it gives you a prompt, it should actually. If it gives you a prompt, install. If your red line disappears, it means it has installed. Just move to the next package, which is Read Excel. Also install it. Now, the reason why I'm installing packages in class is because people need to understand how to do it. Going forward, we shall just say install this package and you will be able to install it. But right now, we need to do it in class. So if somebody is saying, how do I install at once? If you want to install at once, highlight all of them like this. Highlight all like this and run. Then click on run. It will install the first one. When it's done, it will install the second one until it's done. So I'm going to be addressing a few things in the chat. And so if I read your question, they're moving very fast. Sometimes I may miss them. Somebody's saying, what's the difference between R and the RStudio, the R graphical user interface? We are using right now the RStudio, which is the graphical user interface, because we want to be able to seamlessly use R. You can use the console as well. The only problem is we want to keep our scripts, okay? The only way to keep them is to keep them in a script file like this one, so we can reproduce them. But you can type down here in the console and it will also do the execution. But for reproducibility, now we need to run this. Yeah, and yeah, in the console, yes, you can keep the codes, that is true. So let me look at what, there is no library. Somebody, please, we haven't reached the codes that say library. So if you have highlighted them, that may be an issue. We are dealing with installation right now. So we are only running these installations or packages because we need the functions. The library codes will call what has happened in functions for the different packages, but it will not call it if you have not installed it. So install. If one fails, install the other. Somebody saying, is it possible to use R alone for data analysis without RStudio? Yes, but you will not be able to see what you're doing. At this point, I don't recommend that you use R alone because even now, R alone is down here in the console. It is where the execution is taking place. It is where the execution is taking place. Yes, if it is saying install, yes, click on install. This is Penina. Yes, click on install. Click on install. If it is asking you to restart the PC or R, you need to restart. There's somebody saying my laptop is not charging. Okay. Um, um, okay, so somebody is asking, can you do installation of R packages offline? Yes, if you have downloaded them. The other thing that you need to know is that once you install packages, that is the end of it. So if you install packages today, you don't need to install them ever again, if you're using the same R and you didn't uninstall it. So installation is done once today because you don't have it. Tomorrow, the other days, you don't need to install any more packages. All you need is to call the library, and all that is done offline. You don't need to be online in order to call libraries and do that. The installation is online because it has to bring the package from the CRAN mirror. And it's done once today, and that will be it. Then every other day, you are going to not need internet to install these packages. And somebody is asking, can you tell us what these packages do? Yes, we are going to talk about them as people continue to install these packages. It's important because some functions only are stored in these packages. So we are going to give time. Yes, recordings will be shared after because somebody is not hearing me. Somebody confirm in the chat if you can hear me.
A bit louder.
Okay, thank you. So somebody may have a challenge with the package. Now, if you're installing and you are getting prompts that one package is not available, should you install it? Please click yes. It says data not found in the working directory. It is because you have not put the data in, the folder. Somebody is saying my data is showing 354 observations and 6 variables, depending on the one you have brought. You might have brought the Kisumu data only. That shouldn't worry you. We shall import all the data sets. Eventually, we shall have all of them there. Okay, but it's not currently installed. Please install. Yes, if they're saying install R tools. By the way, for example, if they say install R tools, if you're seeing my screen and you don't have it, you can install it. Now we're going to learn that you can actually type and add things in here. You can say install.packages. It should bring for you the code. And then inside here, it's R tools. If it's not there, you put it there and run that line. I mean, I'm not saying you should do it, but if they say install a package, this is the function. You type it and you should be able to put the name and install. What's the difference between, see very well, which is, if you update the R version, are you also supposed to update the packages? So some packages change with versions. others don't. But the good news is it will prompt you. It will let you know. It will let you know. Someone saying, the packages we are installing are here. The packages we are installing are here. Somebody has red bullets just in front of the R script lines. Now I need to see, sometimes I will need to see a screenshot of what is going on there in your computer so I can be able to understand exactly what you are explaining. Okay, exactly what you are explaining. All right, so the pause is for us to really install. If you need our tools, then you can install it. If it has prompted you to install our tools, sometimes it doesn't, others it doesn't. So somebody's saying everything is installed. You know that the installation is complete when there is no red button down here. Somebody is saying they have a warning that our Tidyverse was built under R version 4.5.1. Okay. And install, continue installing. Warnings do not necessarily mean that you're failing to install. Okay, so when you've installed, red scripts will be there in the console. Somebody's asking, are there red? Sometimes they see red. Red, meanwhile, means errors. Okay, so sometimes maybe there are errors. Somebody's asking, can you scroll down so we can see how they look like? So when the package is installed, for each package, you will see this statement, the downloaded packages are in this. This will be the last statement. That's how you know that they are installed. Install the packages that you are able to install. I'll be able to help those who are having some certain challenges. When you take a screenshot of what's going on there, you will probably put them in the WhatsApp group eventually so I can see. But you can, okay, so somebody has an error like this. Which versions are you using of R? So if you have installed the R that we did today, you should be having this version of R here, 4.5.1. So we may eventually need to go through updating your R, but it's important that you install the latest version if you can, so that we are in the same page. Yes, the latest version is 4.5.1. Okay, so I want us to do something quickly before we can take a break here. I see that the installation People have managed to install, others are still installing. I would like you to run the libraries. After installing, you run the set of codes that have the libraries as well. Run the set of codes that have the libraries as well. So the library will not run if the package was not installed, for sure. So you can just run them one by one. Now, somebody is saying they do not have the latest version. You are going to have to install. Right now, if we go through updating, that means you're going to have to go off and then it will reinstall. So for now, I would like you to, no, somebody's saying RTools is not on my list as it's, I typed it in. You can also type yours in. Okay, I just typed it in because I wanted to show somebody how to install it. But you can type, just go to down below there, you can install .packages, okay? If it comes, you can look for it and then put it in quotes here. So that's how I wrote our tools. So this script here is, you can edit it. We are going to add things. Someone's saying, can you have a group? Yes, we are going to have a group where we can go through this so that if you're having challenges with installation, you can put. Okay, so I want you to run the library codes as well. So for each you can run. Those that have loaded, they will run. So I'm just running mine to show you that they will run. That they will run. Okay, so somebody says they ran there successfully. If yours is successful, please type there successful. Done. Okay, done. Great. So I need to know, okay, I see that there's so many people that have run successfully. Okay, that is great. Okay, not successful, successful, successful. Okay. So that's great. So I need that feedback. For those who are not successful, it's no, if Tidyverse is saying conflicts, that's fine. Yes, the object is masked, that's okay. Warnings are not necessarily errors. It's just for you to, it shows you to pay attention to certain things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will not work. So some of these things we'll address them, especially if you don't have the latest version of R. The other problem with open source software is that things keep getting updated. So regularly we have to get the latest version of the software simply because it's free. Simply because it's free. Now, if you're using R 4.4.2, you are below, you are kind of way below the version that we are using today. So if you can, I would suggest that you, after today, after our session is done, please install the latest version. Use the instructions that I gave, get the latest version of R. Okay? Somebody is asking, scroll down, but I scrolled. Okay, Tidyverse was successfully installed. So I wanted to show you that it is successful and people are succeeding. Somebody's asking, what time does this end? It ends at 5. But we are not going to do very many things. I just want us to be able to at least use the code to bring the data. PowerPoints will be shared so you can do this. Okay, so now that we are succeeding in running, I need to explain what packages are and what the library does. Packages do specific functions, okay? Libraries call the functions in the packages. Packages are installed once. Libraries will be called every time we want to run code. What does that mean? It means that today you have installed these packages. You don't ever need to install them again unless you uninstall R from your computer and install R again, or you update R or something. But you'd install it once and you need internet to access it. But after that, you don't need internet to call libraries. You don't need internet to run code. You just need to be on your laptop, okay? So we have run the libraries. I have run mine. I have seen that people have also succeeded in running them. So it now means the functions that are in these packages, okay, have been loaded and they're ready for use. For example, the package, this is a package called Tidyverse. This is a package that has functions that help us for data management, data visualization, ggplot, they're all in here. We have a package like Read Excel. It is going to help us to import Excel files. It has those functions. Write Excel has functions that help us to export Excel files. Somehow, R uses a lot of CSV files, and so do many other software. So we have specific functions that will export Excel. The Haven package helps us to import and export data in different formats. So like SPSS, SAS, data files are all exported with functions that come from the Haven package. Okay, we have data.table, we have RVest for importing data from the web. I haven't said that, but we are going to see that you can also import data directly from the web into R. It doesn't need to be on your computer. RTools is usually for development and installing R packages, which sometimes it should be automatic. So when you have an R script like this, okay, it helps you to organize your work. So this R script has many functions. We're not going to run all of them today, but we are going to see what they do one by one. By the time we are done with this week, we will have gone through. So you keep your R script, don't delete them because we need them. So the first thing is data importation. Data importation. R imports data in different formats. I said that earlier. If we must reproduce this kind of data, we need to understand the code that brings data from your folder into R. Remember, I said you know that the data is in R when you see the object here. So that is what we are going to do. So the question is, the codes below. I'm going to explain what each code does, and you run the code and see the output. So I explained earlier that there is what we call the assignment operator. This one here, please pay attention. This, whenever you see this, it means it is assigning something to an object in R. And the name of that object will be Kisumu main vendor. It will be read, okay, from your folder, from the CSV file in your folder. And the function that is going to do that is read_CSV. Okay, that is what this code is doing. So this code that has the read_CSV function can only import the CSV files. If there is a file that does not have this extension, the CSV, even if it's an Excel file, it will not be imported. So we are going to run this line and see if we can import. But you know, our data is already here. So when you run the line, you might not see any changes, okay? But the information will be here. So in R, if you give the object the same name, it will overwrite what is existing. So I'm going to run mine. Now, you might think nothing has happened, but it's because I already had this Kisumu main vendor data in my environment. So it actually replaced it and gave it the same name, okay? It replaced it and gave it the same name. So run yours. If you had it imported, so you can import through here, but you can also just run the code. Then we have a text file also. Now, these files that I'm talking about are inside your folder. I just want you to be able to import them into your environment, okay? So the function that brings a text file is read.table. When I run mine, you see I have a new dataset called Kisumu 1. Why? Because the code will assign it that name because that's the name I gave it. By the way, you can change the name here. It's not like the name is written in stone. You can change this name. I just gave it Kisumu 1. Now, Kisumu 1 is coming from a text file because sometimes you have a text file and not CSV. So if you have a text file, how do you import it? You don't use maybe read_CSV, you use read.table, okay? And then if you have an Excel file, how do you import it? We use read_Excel. So you're going to be running this. And the other thing is, I also told you you can write comments within R. So R does not execute comments. Whenever you start with a hash symbol, this is a comment. Okay, you can write whatever you like. Even if you run it, it will just skip it and go to the next one. Okay, that is what will happen. So that means you can document as much as possible in your code as long as that line starts with a hash symbol. Anything that does not start with a hash symbol is considered an R code and will be executed. So if it is not correct, it will not work, okay? So this hash symbol indicates that we are trying to explain what the code below does. For example, if I say it reads the data from a CSV file, that means I'm explaining what line 24 will do in case you do not know, so you can understand that if I run this line, I am reading data from a CSV file. And it's important that then you see that the file extension of that file where it is stored, for example, in our data management folder, okay? You should make sure that it is actually a CSV file that is being imported because this function will look for certain features of a CSV file and then import that file and bring it here and display it here for you. Then we can start our analysis. This function, again, if you see the documentation, it reads an Excel file. Please distinguish between the Excel file and the CSV file. So because this one has a file extension for an Excel, the function will be read_Excel. When it comes, it will be named Kisumu 2. That is why I have Kisumu 2 here, okay? Then we are going to move. So we are going to stop at importation of this data. We will not go very far so you don't get overloaded. We have Stata. When you see a file extension DTA, that means this is a Stata file. It was stored as a Stata file, but we want to import it. So the function that imports a Stata file is read_DTA. This one will read only Stata files. And you must make sure the file extension is a Stata file. And when we bring it, it will be Kisumu 3. Okay, so did that work? When I run it, yes, it is working. So it managed to import a Stata file. Then we want to see if it can import here. This one is a SAS file. Previously, we used to use read_SAS to import SAS files. but that function was deprecated. Now we use read underscore XPT. And then we run and we get Kisumu 4. So these are the names. If you change the name here, the object will be stored with a different name, okay? It will be stored with a different name. And then we also have the animal health data, by the way, which we have not talked about. We're also going to import it. It is a read CS, it's a CSV file. So the function that will read it is read underscore CSV. So today our aim is to get all our data here, okay? So we run. Okay, now we also have the animal data. So R can have as many data sets as possible with the number of observations in each. And you can view each by clicking there. So I'm going to pause right here, okay? To know if you have read a CSV file called animal data, you have read a SAS file. You don't need to have SAS on your computer in order to read it. You just need to have read function, this one, import them. And when you're done, you type in that chat that done. Type that you're done or that you are having a challenge. I want to know how many data sets have you been able to bring in. So using the code is much easier than going to import, simply because you will click and run and have all your data imported here in a split of a second. So let me know if you have successfully imported different data sets. Animal data, the main vendor data, Kisumu 1, 2, 3, 4. Would like to see you have these kinds of data here. Then we can be able to use it and continue noting that you don't need the SAID software for you to be able to import data in that file format into R. So that should not be a limitation to using R for your analysis, that you don't have the other software that was used to create that file. Okay, so in the chat, I am not seeing confirmation. Okay, I'm seeing successful, repeat. Somebody wants to remove a dataset from the environment. If you can hear me, or if you see, if you want to remove a particular dataset, like one of them, this is what you do, but you can also remove all of them. Now, if you're looking at my screen, this sweep here will clear all of them, will remove all of them, okay? It will remove all of them. I don't want to remove mine because I have asked people to import, but you can clear your entire workspace, but also you can remove one, only one. How do you remove it? If you want to remove Kisumu 4, for example, if you enter Kisumu, if you imported it in error and you don't want to see it here, you use a function called remove, which is RM. So I'm going to, and by the way, you can type here anywhere, whatever it is, okay? So I'm going to make a small comment that I want to remove Kisumu 4 from my environment, okay? So the function that does that is RM. Then in brackets, you write the name of the data that you want to remove. So using the remove function. When I run it, remember running means put the cursor and run. Yes, now there is no Kisumu 4, okay? So that's how you remove objects that you don't want to see in your environment one by one. You can also remove them at the same time by sweeping them out. But now I have removed Kisumu 4, okay? Because I wanted to show somebody how to remove it. But what happens if I want to bring it back? I look for the code that brought Kisumu 4, which is this one, and run it again, and then have my data set back. So you can play around with removing data sets, keeping them there, clearing the entire environment by sweeping it clean and bringing information again, bringing information again. And I'm still pausing because it's important that I know that you imported data successfully into your environment. Because aside, if you do not, then you will not be able to do the analysis. So we have various types of errors that people are getting. No, how do we save the imported files? It is saved. Once the data appears here, the assignment operator, this one here, is what saves the data. You can import without saving. It will keep it somewhere in the memory and it will not work. Okay? Somebody's asking me, I cannot import Kisumu data 3. Tell me why. Kisumu data 3 is, if you can see my screen, is a stata file. Is a stata file. One, there are 3 possible reasons why you cannot import it. One is because you don't have this file inside your folder, because it is looking for a data file called DTA. You must make sure that you have it in your folder on your desktop. In that way, it will locate it. The second reason why you will fail to import it is because you did not load the library Haven. You see this library here? It is the one that contains that function. So make sure that you successfully run this line, library Haven, by running it. Because if you don't run the library of Haven, it will not find that function. That function will not be available for use in this current session. Those are the 2 reasons why you might be failing to import a stata data file into R. Either the data is not there in your data management folder, or you did not load the Haven library. Now it cannot find this function. Those 2 reasons will not allow you to import Kisumu 3. I'm looking at the chat. Somebody says, how did I obtain the library in the first place? The library is here. There's a function that calls the library. So you need to simply put your cursor anywhere on each of them and run. When you run it, the library will be loaded. Somebody is saying some of the data from the drive cannot be downloaded. Which one in particular? Because I see that people have been successful in downloading information from the drive. Can you name the one that is not being downloaded so I can see if there is, but there is permission because people have been able to do that. Meanwhile, if you've succeeded, please type yes, 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 so I can know that you have your data sets in there. Okay. Okay. Great. We are succeeding. Okay. Somebody is saying, why can't they read Kisumu 2? Kisumu 2 is an Excel file. You should be able to read it, but you will not read it if you didn't load the library or read Excel. It's important that you load all these libraries, meaning click and run each library line. Okay. Somebody's saying they cannot see their animal data. It's because you didn't put it inside the folder. It's because you didn't put it inside the folder. Make sure that when you download it and on your desktop, I repeat, on your desktop, which has data management, make sure that all the data sets that you downloaded are inside this particular folder, which is your R project. That is when you will read them. If they're somewhere in your downloads, bring them from the download and paste them inside this data management folder that we are all using. In that way, we shall be able to access the data so that all of us can import our data set. Somebody's saying the version of R. So here, if you're having challenges with the version of R, I will suggest that after this particular day, which is today, please download the latest version of R. It will not do you any harm, especially uninstall the other one and download this one. It takes a very short time, but it will save you a lot of issues and frustration when you cannot import data and then now you cannot proceed with whatever we are doing. But even yourself, you will get frustrated and fail to work on the data sets simply because you're not using the latest version. That is an issue with data science and data management, that we have to keep up with the latest versions of the software that we are using, okay? Somebody is saying data management day one is not available. It's available. Oh, the PowerPoint is probably what you're saying. No, I haven't shared the PowerPoint because the PowerPoints are shared after the sessions, but every other thing else is available. Okay, how do I bring my day one data management into my workspace? Copy it and paste it inside the data underscore management folder. That is how you are going to bring it there. So if it is on Google Drive, download and copy. Okay, so I see that we have succeeded in having our data inside R. You can view your data by clicking on each of them. You can, click on animal data. You should be able to see the animal data there. You can scroll through. You can look through. Just make sure. Sometimes these things import empty observations, but when you scroll through and you can see your data, then you can know that your data is imported in the right format. We will look at these NAs to mean it's not available, missing. So when you see them, don't get alarmed. Sometimes it's missing because it's not applicable to that particular observation. But it's important that you see that you can see the data in a spreadsheet correctly in R, okay? That it's not probably one line that you are expecting to have 1,480 entries and you're seeing only 2, okay? You would know that there's a problem. And also you can view all of them. So right now I am viewing the animal data. You can also click on the Kisumu data. It will simply switch and go there. Each of them will have its title here. So whichever you want to see is what you can scroll through. There are some differences in this. I use them to show you that you can bring data from any format, but some of the data sets don't have the same number of variables as the main vendor data set, okay? These have been derived from this, so you can see that maybe Kisumu 3 has 298 variables, while the main vendor data set has 319 variables. Kisumu 2 has 303 variables, while the main data set has 319 variables, okay? So it's important, especially in your main data, that even where it's coming from, you at least know how many variables are expected, how many observations are expected. Even when you're seeing them here, you can quickly know if nothing happened to your data. Maybe the data got deleted, because in data management, data can get distorted from the source to where it is being collected, to where it is being merged or appended. We are going to look at all these things. But remember, also in data management, data comes from different sources. So you might have 4 questionnaires, in different regions. So the person or the system usually want to assign blame to people that are managing data, but sometimes it's the entire system. The system that is being used somehow does not merge variables correctly, or somehow brings duplicates in the data. Now you have an exponential number of, for example, observations, and you're trying to find out if that is right or that is wrong. By the time you reach here, you're dealing with your data set. We expect you to have read the data dictionary, to know at least what you're dealing with, okay? You understand the variables a bit. If you need to make reference, you go back to the metadata. In our case, we have a whole code book for the animal health data, and we have a whole data dictionary for the Kisumu main vendor data. So this step that we've taken is very important to correctly get data into R. It is something that can make you fail to manage your data simply because you do not know how to use the tool to see, to get the data. So it's important for us all to be able to correctly do this, have the data, because after this, we shall move very fast. We can check the variable, we can know how many, for example, we can look at the age, we can know how many are less than 10 weeks, how many are less than 10 months. We can quickly summarize the data. You can go to the Kisumu data. We can look at how many counties are represented, which we shall do, how many sub-counties, how many slums, how many vendors are coming from the different location types, what types, of the places where they are, whether they're having kiosks, how many are installed, how many vendors are female, how many of these outlets are owned by multiple females, how many are owned by both male and female. You can only go deep into this to get insights if you can correctly get your data into R. So if you've had challenges in installation, in running the code, please find a way, maybe through the group, or if you don't have the latest version, use the guide that I put in the Google Drive to install the latest version of R. We move with the latest version, makes our work much easier, because even the packages are updated according to the different versions that we have. So I am not going to go beyond importation of data for today, because we have those that are using R for the first time. We also have those that have used R before. And it is a very big achievement to be able to install R and RStudio, to understand how to use it, and to be able to get your data into R. It is one hurdle that usually disturbs people who are learning R for the first time. And meanwhile, the learning curve for R is also a bit steep, but if we have reached this point, it means we can now move faster in understanding and running our code. So at this point, we have people who joined a bit late, and so they didn't fill in the pre-survey. I'm going to put the link for the pre-survey. Please fill in the pre-survey, and also the link for the WhatsApp group. You can click on that group and join. Then we shall be able to. Now the pre-survey is also on the Google, doc. The link to the WhatsApp group is here in the chat. Is here in the chat. That is for the WhatsApp group. It's important again that you fill the survey. It may be late for you, but please find time and fill it in before tomorrow. So I will just put it there in case you missed it inside your Google Drive so that you can be able to fill in that pre-survey. Okay. Yes, the notes will be put on the Google Drive. The notes probably means the PowerPoint. Otherwise, everything else you have the script, and the PowerPoints will help to guide you. Somebody is saying, where do I get the Google Drive? Okay, so I have placed the link so you have a link to the survey, please. I would kindly request that you fill in that survey. Somebody is looking for the link to the drive. Again, I will hopefully, I'm getting it right. I'm going to put it right here. I didn't copy that. I'm putting the link to the drive. Once you have the link to the drive, you can have the link to the survey as well. WhatsApp is not letting you in. Let's see. If the WhatsApp is not letting you in, I'll double check and still update the link before tomorrow inside your no, the PowerPoint has not yet been put in there. It is something that I do after. The WhatsApp is working. Is it not working? Is it working?
The WhatsApp is working. It's a number of problems.
Oh, okay. Please verify. Someone share the link again for the people that have not seen it. And also the Google link, please go to in there and fill in that pre-survey. It will be important for us. Meanwhile, I don't have an assignment today. The simple reason is I want you, if you have failed to install, please install before tomorrow. Install before tomorrow. And yes. So I would like to end this session here. We have about 4 minutes to the top of the hour, and hand over to David. David, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. I think what I can offer is not to be nice. Just encourage the body and do that.
David, I can't hear you very well. David, we are not hearing you. Personally, I can't hear you.
I think you're using a microphone and the microphone is not clear.
David Martin is David is. Are you hearing?
Let me call him. I think he must have been using a microphone.
All right. All right, so let's wait for David to give our remarks, and then we can close this session for today on top of the hour.